Welcome to The Growth Show with me as your host, Joe Camerato. I am an entrepreneur who created my company, National Business Capital, from literally $0 out of my spare bedroom to over $2 billion in business loans secured for entrepreneurs nationwide. Since 2007, I have seen just about every type of business. I provide money and help entrepreneurs access capital to scale fast, but I also know that it's possible for you as you scale to replace yourself, to build systems, processes, and great teams of people that can live on without you so you can actually enjoy your life and your company can still grow. I will not only tell you the peaks and valleys of my story, but I will also bring on world-class entrepreneurs to tell their stories and share their lessons on their growth journeys. Welcome to The Growth Show. All right, welcome to The Growth Show. Today I have an awesome special guest, Evan Carmichael. If you don't know Evan, you really need to. Obviously on my show, it's all about entrepreneurs growing, their stories, their successes, but more importantly, like the challenges of growth, which no one likes to talk about. And I want to get into that with Evan today. Evan believes in entrepreneurs. Gary Vaynerchuk called him the DJ who inspires people. Ed Mylett called him the modern day Napoleon Hill. If you didn't know, at 19, he built and then sold the biotech software company. At 22, he's a venture capitalist raising $500 to $15 million. He obviously now runs an amazing YouTube channel, over 3 million subscribers, almost 4 million, 500 million views, wrote 5 books, speaks globally, and has reviewed the biggest name in personal development from Grant Cardone to Tony Robbins, and the list goes on. Evan wants to solve the world's largest problem, that people don't believe in themselves enough. His home is Toronto. He's a husband, father, and League of Legends fan. Welcome to the show, Evan.
I love it. The Growth Show with Joe. Let's go. I'm here. It's great.
So, it's really interesting. And we've had a few conversations in the past and I always enjoy them. And I know that you're open about this, but like if people don't really look in and like read about you, maybe make it to your website, which I really recommend that everyone does. I love how open you are, in sharing, but if you go to your website or your YouTube channel, and you see all these great videos, all these amazing interviews, all this awesome content you put out, but like, you were like this introverted guy and, doing all the stuff that you do now. I mean, you make it look so easy, but that like originally wasn't you. So I don't know. I want to talk about that because you've overcome so many challenges with yourself to grow into, an amazing person. And besides all that, you're a really good person, which I truly respect.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you for that, man. My growth was slow, man. I mean, I needed the Growth Show when I was getting started. on my homepage, I show the year-over-year growth because it inspires people. It was definitely not an overnight success, right? Like my first year on YouTube, I had 25 subscribers. 5 years in, I had 2,000 subscribers or something. Like it was not a rapid climb. And the only thing I had going for me was I just kept going. I just kept making. I just kept creating. I wanted to serve. I wanted to help. I never wanted to be famous. We have a mutual friend, Steve Carlos, who's done some help for me and for you. And that was the biggest fight that I would get in with him. Is like, Evan, you need to be famous. Like, Steve, I don't want to be famous. Like, no, but you need to be famous. Like, I don't want to be famous, Steve. It's great. And so like for years we fought about this, and then it finally sunk in, and really it's probably me just better being able to receive and listen better. Where he said, you don't get it. Like if you're famous, then you'll be able to serve more people. And so like, oh,
and it clicked.
That's what you've been saying for the past 4 years. I think the earwax came out.
And sometimes Steve's okay.
Yeah, no, Steve's great. I mean, I credit a lot of my success and growth to his mentorship and guidance and push, telling me where I suck and how to get better. And it was that recognition that, okay, the more people know me, the more I can spread a message. And it's not about me. Like even before doing this, it would have been, if you had approached me 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I was like, why do you want to, like, who cares about my story? Why do you want to have me on, Joe? I mean, I'm profiling giant names in the space. Like, who am I compared to Elon Musk and whoever else? And so I would have said no. I like, that's, you don't want me. That's dumb. But then I realized, no, people can learn from what I've done, and every interview I do is another chance to spread the mission a little bit more. So it was really just a mindset shift that the more people know my story and what I'm trying to do, the more it might just touch the right person to go off and encourage them to believe in themselves more and chase down their dreams, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and when did that shift happen, right? Because just like reading your story, just how you were like this introvert. Like, did something happen? Like, was there an event? Was it a chain of events where this shift happened? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, introvert and entrepreneur would split up. I'm still an introvert. I still don't enjoy I don't enjoy speaking on stage. I enjoy the 6 hours in the hallway afterwards of helping people one-on-one at events. Nice. But I don't need the limelight. I don't crave the limelight. I don't like the limelight. So that was really just to shift the service, and we talked about Steve helping with that. In terms of being an entrepreneur, I'm 40. What year is it? I'm 44 in May, and when I was growing up, entrepreneur wasn't a thing. I feel like I'm an old man, I guess, but none of my friends
we're getting there, buddy.
My parents were entrepreneurs. I went to a small school. We didn't have entrepreneurship class or anything. I just didn't know anybody who was an entrepreneur. The internet was just coming online. Like, I had to go to the library to use the internet in high school and university, right? It was like just coming on. So there were no examples to follow. I always liked money growing up. And asked my parents, like, what should I do when I, get older? And they said, well, you like money, you should go be a banker. Bankers make money. It's like, okay, I'm going to go be a banker. I mean, so it's a high school yearbook. It says where you're going to be in 10 years as a VP at a bank. And I had a lot of entrepreneurial tendencies growing up. So like baseball cards and garage sales and all these little side hustles that, went nowhere. Baseball cards actually made some decent money for a 13-year-old but most of these things kind of went nowhere. And then I met two entrepreneurs at university and partnered with them on their company. And I took a 30% stake in the business equity and made $300 a month. So it's not like tiny little startup making no money. And that just felt right. I wish, again, like I honestly wish there was a Grow Show back then, like just to open my eyes, because I didn't have any people in my life who were doing this. And so I didn't know it was available. I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know this thing even existed, which is what is so amazing about the internet now. And people are knocking, social media and seeing how bad it is and poisoning kids and whatever, but it can also be great. It's like your heroes are there, and the best teachers now are on YouTube. Like whatever you want to learn, practical skills, like chances are there's a better teacher on YouTube teaching it in a easier to understand way, more entertaining way, more valuable way than what your teacher is teaching you. And so I think that's pretty incredible.
I couldn't agree more. And I've been talking about this with my wife, and my daughter's 8 now. And just like, I think it should be embraced, but in a structured way, like a constructive way. But just think about some of the people that you've interviewed in your show, like Elon Musk, Tony Robbins, like these amazing leaders. You get to basically like be a fly in the wall, like in the room in these conversations that prior, like growing up, like we would have never been able to hear those conversations. You would have had to be like, like in the crowd, or, come from a wealthy family and, be at like a dinner table or something like that, or out at like it was impossible. So like the access to information now, it's unbelievable, which, I think it's just really interesting too, because you have so many people complaining. And I just think that there's so much opportunity today, way more than there was when I was growing up.
I mean, Instagram, YouTube, it can be negative. It just all depends on what you follow, like who you follow.
Correct. Yeah.
If you follow Grow by Joe, you're not going to be hit with a lot of negative ideas, right? You're going to be starting your business. But like I went to University of Toronto, which is, if not one of the top universities in Canada, my country. And I did a business degree, and they didn't have a course on small business until our final year. And so 4th year, I'm like, this is great. I'm already running my business. Now I'm going to learn how to actually run a business. And the professor didn't run his own business. had us come up with like a business plan for a fake business where all my classmates were doing like, oh, we should start a coffee shop or some retail shop. And I'm like, I'm already running my business. I'm already starting to make some money. Like I would learn more from one Grow Show episode than my entire semester at university.
Yeah.
You're doing it. You have a business and you're bringing on people who you're picking apart their brains, their minds, their insights. And so it's the opportunity to get into self-education. Like whatever you want to learn, there's somebody on YouTube teaching it. And I've had conversations with my son who's 14 and he's in grade 9. And I don't know what does he do after he graduates? He doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. So that would have been easy. But does it make sense to go to university? It's like, it's a weird spot to be in. I don't know if it even makes sense. For some, you want to be a lawyer, you still have to go. You want to be a doctor, you still have to go. But other professions, is it still worth it?
I know. I have the same, I share the same thoughts, and I've had the same similar conversations, unless it's like a clear, I still have some time for this, with my kids, but like, I don't know, unless it's like clear that you want to go for this, it's just, is it worth the time and and the money? And could you learn way more doing other things or having me mentor you about business? Or I don't know.
And Joe, so that time flies like my son's 14 now. He was 8 yesterday.
Yeah. I know.
It's like, and now it's real. Like he's got to decide basically by next year what he's going to be doing.
What the path is.
Yeah, because time is starting to get there. So, anyways, crazy how quickly it creeps up.
Absolutely. So just speaking about learning and stuff, like tell me a little bit about your book, Momentum. What could folks, get out of that, and what information are you sharing in there?
Yeah, it's a little hard to see. It's behind me there on the wall. But,
we'll get to the Doritos after.
Yeah, it really stands out on this background. Momentum. I still do. I often say to entrepreneurs, the only thing you're missing is momentum. I meet so many amazing, talented entrepreneurs who are service driven, who want to do good in an ethical way and help, and they're just sitting on their ideas, for like years, just sitting on their ideas. And I'll tell them the only thing they're missing is momentum. And so I decided that I would just write a book about it. and the book is called Momentum. And then underneath it says the only thing you're missing is momentum. And guides people through the process of how do you create momentum? How do you sustain momentum? Because again, for most people, most entrepreneurs, when you don't have a boss over you telling you, hey, Joe, you got to get this done tomorrow. We often don't push ourselves to actually go and get that thing done tomorrow. And so we're sitting on all this potential. And so most people are not missing the idea. They're just missing the momentum.
100%. I actually love it. And I couldn't agree more. I talk about with my team all the time how powerful momentum is. And, and just like going through COVID, a lot of momentum was disrupted for a lot of people, a lot of companies, like things just stopped. And, I really witnessed momentum slowing and what it took to rebuild momentum. It's a really interesting thing. And once you get that momentum going, obviously it's the key is to keep it going, but then sometimes it can almost take a little mind of its own, as well too. So it's definitely something you have to constantly, keep up with. But I don't think people realize,
right? Like how many business owners are not growing because they think they just don't have enough capital to do it.
Yeah, millions. Yeah,
and they just have accepted. I don't know how to get money, so I'm just not going to do it. And they may not know of you and what you do and the options, but like if you just start, you go to YouTube and you search, how can I fund my company? Hopefully Joe pops up. But if he's not, he's popping up. Yeah. Like, wow, there's this whole company. They do this. I didn't even know this thing existed. Right. It's like we don't like not knowing, and we don't like the messiness, and we want things to be elegant. But at the beginning, it's not. But it leads you down to amazing places. And it leads you to finding someone like Joe or some other options where now, 3 months ago, you thought there's no way I'm ever going to get funding for my thing. And now 3 months later, you're funded. And then what does that do to help you grow your
we see it all the time.
Yeah.
100%. We've had companies that started, with $50,000 fundings. We just had someone started with 50 and, a few years ago, and we just gave him $1 million, and he didn't qualify for that years ago. It's amazing. And he created a lot of momentum, and it's powerful, and he stayed focused and was disciplined. And I think another big key word too, which fuels the momentum, is the discipline. Like, because especially as being an entrepreneur, there is no one. Like, I do like to have coaches and for other people to hold me accountable, but like, you really have to hold yourself accountable. And because there's no one, especially when you're at the top, typically holding you accountable and pushing you, that I feel like discipline's key to, keep things going, growing, and obviously that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, for discipline, the easiest thing for me is just to have a calendar. And I think successful people, or at least the ones I know, have a calendar and a routine. So nobody I know wakes up and says, it's going to be an amazing day. I'm going to change the world. Let's go, right? Like, that's what we think of.
You don't do that?
No, I don't do that. I don't do that, Joe. You don't either, right? I mean, it's like we see these people on YouTube and Instagram and just think, man, they just wake up and it's always rainbows and everything is just amazing. And they're the greatest entrepreneur and the greatest father and like in the greatest.
And they don't work.
And they never work. And it's just, right? That's what we think, right? But the difference is just the habits and routines, right? So what do you do when you wake? I wake up and I might be tired. I might have had a rough night. I still get up and I go do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And so whenever I want to, I think there are moments where you have to bring in the discipline because you're tired or there's something else. So there's a shiny object over here that you want to go off and do. But I think if you're always relying on willpower, you're eventually going to fail. Where the calendar is the thing that ends up saving you, right? So I'm here right now with you because it's in my calendar. If it wasn't in my calendar,
well, same here.
Yeah, it's like we both would have forgot about it. or beyond this, some other thing that's popping up, right? And so we tend to schedule in things with other people, but we don't tend to schedule, or at least people who are first learning this don't schedule things in for themselves. Like time for you to work, time for you to write your book, time for you to be creative, time for you to brainstorm the next 5 years of your business, time with your wife and with your kids, time for yourself to do your whatever, your meditation, your yoga, your sauna, your cold plunge. Like, we'll often just abandon all those things and focus only on business stuff that rely with other people. But if you can then create a calendar that fits your whole life, that's the unlock for me. I get a great idea. I talk to you, I get inspired. If it's a habit that I need to keep doing, you're going to tell me about some new infrared, something I need to go off and do. Great. It's a great idea. Ooh, exciting. If it's not on my calendar, like, it's never going to happen.
Not happening. Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah. And I think too, like like scheduling the thinking time. Cause it's just, I was just talking with another entrepreneur 2 nights ago and just like how important it's been for him and his success to like take the time just to think things through. And I think in this new world of Zoom, so many people are just wrapped up going to the next thing, and not scheduling that time to like focus, think, and strategize.
Yeah, I think we have moments. Sometimes those come in phases. Like, you have moments in your life where you just need to get stuff done, and you know exactly what you need to do, and you just need to buckle down and go and do the work. And then you'll have other moments where like you don't know what to do next. Like, you just hit your goal, or the goal doesn't serve you anymore. It's like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing with this show. I don't know what I'm creating here, and that's where some creative time helps. And like, outside time is always great. I spend 2 to 3 hours outside every day, just walking. It's colder now. Did you get snow in New York?
Yeah, we did. It was, the biggest snowstorm in 2 years, but we haven't gotten snow in 2 years. So any snow would have been the biggest snowstorm. But
we have not had snow in Toronto. We're north of you.
Wow. I'm surprised.
We just got pounded today. Yeah. We're like outside is pounded. So it's a little more difficult to get outside and do the walk, but that's where willpower and discipline will come in. It's like, I said I was going to do it. Oh, now it's hard. Ooh, it's snowy. Ooh, it's a big dump. Do I still go up and do it or not? Right. That's when you need the willpower.
And the snow boots.
Yeah. You're not walking barefoot out unless you're Wim Hof and you're doing the breathing exercises to dive in there.
I just did a Wim Hof event actually. And we got in the sound. It was like 42 degrees. It was a 20-degree day. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great example. Wim is great. We were the first film crew to ever go in and film him at an event. So when he came to Toronto, we filmed the whole event. We had to film, like, we couldn't show fronts of faces like participants, but like back of heads and then Wim. And that's another great example. Like you go see Wim and you have this great experience and it's a weekend and it's awesome and you're breathing and you're doing the cold plunging. Like that was great. But nothing happens unless you maintain the practice.
Yeah, keep doing it.
So
100%.
how are you going to buy a cold plunge? Are you going to go and do a cold shower every day? You know, like, and unless it becomes part, and it's the same thing for business, any habit, business is a habit too. Are you doing your calls? Are you making content? I'm going to start a podcast and call it The Grow Show. Awesome. Are you talking to people? Are you getting in front and booking time? Right? Like all of these things are the habits that consistently build up. And for most people, they just, especially entrepreneurs, we get all excited and ADD'd out on, you know, this is such a great idea, but it's like stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. Where like the people who are successful just keep going, just keep making, just do another show, you know, just make another video.
That was going to be, it's funny. That was going to be my question is like, you know, you've interviewed all these amazing leaders, just, you know, awesome people. What is the common denominator that you find, you know, through all these successful entrepreneurs?
For me, it always comes down to belief in that they can do it. Now I see the world through the lens of believe anyway. So bias, but like it just, a lot of the people who've had tons of success, like they shouldn't be there. Like you shouldn't be doing what you're doing from where you came from and what you went through. It's like, you shouldn't be here doing this. Like 8-year-old Joe is like, what are you doing? That's not possible. And you're here, right? And so you're an impossibility to younger you, let alone an impossibility like to the world. And so successful entrepreneurs just believe that this thing can happen, even though logically it doesn't make sense. And when people tell you this doesn't make sense, they're right. You know, they are right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But you believe in yourself that you're just going to go off and do it. That's the one. 2, I would say they build momentum. Like they just create, they go. Even though it doesn't make sense, they're not going to overthink it for the next 20 years before they decide. Like, I'm going to go get funding. I'm going to find an option. And then poof, here comes Joe, right? We're like, they didn't have that connection. They didn't know what they were doing. They just started. And then if I had a third, it'd be that they just kept going. You know, it's like, I'm not, one bank tells me, no, I'm not going to get funding. Cool. I'm going to keep searching until I find an option.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with that. And I think, you know, probably one of the biggest keys to my success has been mindset, you know, and just powering through the challenging times. And even reading your story, just, you know, a time where you basically were about to throw in the towel. Like, imagine if you didn't keep going through that. Look at what you've, you know, created. And we've all been there. Like, that's, I feel like, such a familiar story. I mean, I feel like any successful entrepreneur, if you haven't had those moments, like then you know, you got really lucky, or you weren't trying hard enough.
No, it doesn't happen. I know we got to go, but one quick story of how badly I needed The Grow Show. When I was 19, I had my first business. I was excited, like, here I go. We're going to be entrepreneurs. We're going to change the world. And so first stop is the bank. I'm like, okay, well, banks help entrepreneurs. So I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to get some help because my parents are entrepreneurs. I don't know what I'm doing. So I walk into the bank and said, hi, I'm Evan. I started my business. How can you help me? And the guy's like, well, like, do you need a loan? It's like, I don't know. I'm starting up. I want to grow my company. How can you help? Banks help people, right? What can I do? And he said, well, if it's a startup, we need at least 3 years of history before we can give you any kind of loan. And otherwise you need to guarantee it personally, but you don't have any income. So like, I don't think I can really do anything for you. And I walked in so excited and happy, and I left like feeling like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm going to fail. This is ridiculous. I mean, that's just how banks are designed, but I really wish there was a show like The Grow Show that they could have at least pointed me to. It's like, okay, like, hey, I can't fund you, but here's some content. Here's some resources. Here's something you can look at to help. And I love hearing the stories, like you said, where you started with a $50K deal and now it's $1 million, and then the next one's 5 or whatever else. Because, you know, I could have quit, and a lot of people do quit at those first early points of getting rejected. And I just love that you're here making content, sharing the message, and doing a lot of good, because entrepreneurs are changing the world and you're funding them and giving them resources to do it. So thank you for having me on, man. And just super pumped to see you continue to grow.
Thank you, man. And same to you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration to so many people. Definitely appreciate you taking time on the show. I know you're busy. We always wrap up. What's one growth tip that you'd share with fellow entrepreneurs?
Follow The Growth Show. You
I
want to
love
grow? Follow the Grow Show. Listen to
it.
Joe.
Good
Subscribe,
stuff.
leave a comment, and tell him what it means to you.
Great stuff. Well, I appreciate you, Evan. Keep rocking and rolling, and hope to see you. Hope to see you soon. Be well. Keep growing.
Thanks, man. Thank you, Joe.